The idea of power of now sounded revolutionary when most of us first heard it. Stop living in your head, just stop dragging the past around like a body bag. Stop focusing on imaginary disasters. Just come back to the present. Feel your feet, your breath, and the aliveness in your hands. And for a lot of people, that was a real interruption. It cut through some of the noise. It offered relief from the constant mental diarrhea of self-concern, and it was simple, elegant, and clean. And compared to the usual self-improvement circus, it felt like someone had finally turned the lights off in the mall. So the problem is what happened next. A teaching that was supposed to interrupt mental identification became a lifestyle. And now we have whole armies of people trying to stay in the now, like they are doing spiritual planks in a gym. We have people monitoring their inner weather every 5 minutes, trying to be more present, more immediate, more sensation and body-based, more here and more now, while in their actual life, they still don't do what they really want to do. And their lives quietly fills with the same unrevised patterns, the same bad dynamics, the same undigested consequences. So that is not liberation. It is spiritual zombification because of one big misconception. Thing is, now is not a moment in time. That's the whole distortion. Because reality is not only what is happening in the sensory frame of this exact second. Reality also includes patterns and capacity and repetition and consequence and history and the way someone has shown up 15 times before. The way we keep abandoning ourselves the moment there is warmth, chemistry, relief, sex, or temporary closeness. The way certain outcomes keep reproducing because we refuse to admit the pattern is the pattern. And this is where the power of now becomes incredibly stupid in practice. Someone hurts us. They avoid repair. They go vague or they disappear, and then they come back warm, and suddenly, because this moment feels good, because right now they are smiling, because right now the energy is soft, and because right now our body feels relief, we tell ourselves to be present, to not bring in the past, to not project into the future, to just meet what is here. So we do. We melt, we re-enter, we hand over access again. No repair, no check for capacity, no real contact with the actual person as a whole. Just a nice, fresh moment draped over an old structure. And because we are trying to be spiritual, we act like mentioning the structure would be some kind of mental failing. So that is not presence. That is self-betrayal in a yoga voice. Just consider that now is not this second. It is not the sound of the bird outside, and it is not the sensation in your chest. Those things may appear, yep, but presence is not the technique of shrinking attention down to immediate sensory data while pretending the rest of reality does not exist. So, presence is even more naked. It is simply what remains when the stories we tell ourselves drop. It is what is without the extra story about what this means, what they say about me, where this is going, whether I'm doing well, whether I'm healed, whether I'm safe, or whether this proves he loves me, or whether the universe is sending signs through my left nostril. that is very different from turning the present moment into a spiritual hiding place. And that's exactly what happened for a lot of people. And at first, focusing on sensations can feel radical because most people live like mentally over-caffeinated. Constant noise and constant interpretation and constant emotional fan fiction. So yes, coming back to raw immediacy can cut through some of that. But after a while, if this becomes the whole thing, it starts rotting. It becomes another identity, the one who should be present, the one who notices their breath, the one who returns to the body, and the one who doesn't live in thought, the one who is here and now. Which is already funny because now we have an ego trying to perform egolessness by concentrating on the left foot. We become so committed to inhabiting this moment that we stop reading reality across time. And that is not wisdom. That's amnesia with little incense. And if you often feel overwhelmed, like there is not enough time and there is always too much to do, it is not about being present. It's about an honest look at your underlying story that determines how stressful life really is. And I go deeper into this in my book, How to Achieve Nothing. You will find it in the description of this video. Thing is, we get trained to distrust thought so much that we stop seeing obvious continuity. We stop recognizing that what is happening now is not isolated. It belongs to a larger reality. A moment is not innocent just because it is immediate. A farmer cannot grow crops by worshipping the present moment and ignoring the seasons. He cannot stand in a field deeply attuned to the breeze on his skin, whispering, "Only now is real," while planting all the wrong time and then acting shocked when nothing grows. So yes, the breeze is real. Yes, the sensation is real, but reality also includes timing, cycles, weather, preparation, harvest, and consequence. And presence does not erase sequence. It removes the story on top of it, about us needing more time, not being good enough, and all that jazz. It does not remove structure. And same with sex. A couple can be incredibly in the moment, so connected, so surrounded, and so alive, so free of thought, and still create a consequence they were not willing to hold because they decided that practical intelligence was some kind of ego contamination. And what I'm saying is that being absorbed in a sensation does not make condoms irrelevant. It does not make fertility vanish. It does not make cause and effect a low vibration concept. Reality still functions. And this is the part of spiritual people keep trying not to hear. Immediacy is not the whole truth. It is only one dimension of appearance. And when we turn immediacy into the highest good, we become easy to fool by others, ourselves, by chemistry, and by relief, by anything that feels good enough in the moment to drown our pattern recognition, our discernment. That is why so many people on this path becomes weirdly passive. They look calm, they sound wise, they speak softly about surrender and being here and now. Meanwhile, their relationships are messy, boundaries are fake, decisions drift or nothing gets read clearly across time because everything is filtered through a kind of spiritual sedation. What is here now? What do I feel now? What sensation is arising now? And again, sensation is not the enemy. The body is not the enemy. The problem is when sensation replaces discernment. And then presence becomes anesthesia. Then the now becomes a place where accountability goes to die. That is why it becomes zombification. We stop naming obvious things. We stop requiring repair in a relationship, or we just want to feel good. And the trap is sneaky because it feels so holy. It feels clean to say, I'm just here now. And it feels evolved to say, I am not living in the past. Or it just feels so conscious to say, I'm not projecting anything. And sometimes all that means is, I do not want to acknowledge the pattern because it would require a move, or God forbid, it would require me to change. And a lot of spiritual practice becomes a way to remain with what should interrupt us. We become very good at sitting with discomfort, breathing through pain, allowing sensations, and witnessing thought, and softening this resistance into beautiful and fine. But what if the discomfort was supposed to clarify that something is off? And what if the pain was not asking for more witnessing, but for an actual decision? What if the anxiety was not an invitation to return to the breath, but a sign that our life is built around arrangements that keep violating us, and then keeping us here and now, but lonelier than before? And so if you are tired of feeling more aware than most people around you, but lonelier than before, dive into my book, You Are Not Awakening, You Are Just Lonely. Link is in the description. And at some point, presence becomes another delay tactic. Instead of action, we breathe. And instead of naming the lie, we ground ourselves. So the opportunity here is not to swing back into compulsive thinking. It is not to become a paranoid analyst of everyone's behavior. It is not to build a giant identity around discernment either. The opportunity is simply simpler and harder to see that real presence includes reality. That real presence does not crop the frame down to sensation and call that truth. It includes pattern without story, capacity without fantasy, and history without the psychological melodrama, and also presence without performance. And we can see the inconvenient truth that someone has no capacity to meet us. Then we can maybe see that now feels warm, while also seeing that the painful structure remains unchanged. And that is presence with intelligence. And when that is seen, something cleaner becomes possible. We stop using the now as a loophole for self-abandonment. We stop treating practical clarity like a betrayal of spirituality. We stop trying to become the kind of a person who is always in the present moment, because that whole project is already false. Presence is not a state to maintain. It is what remains when the performance drops. Then life gets less dreamy and more real, less floaty, but more exact. And it becomes a bit less spiritual but more honest, and a lot more alive.